A couple weeks ago, I made a video reviewing Trevor Bachmeyer's video on whether or not peptides mixed together in a solution was a good idea or a bad idea. And I don't think it's a black and white thing where all are bad, all are good. It's case by case. And I think he even mentions that in his video. In that video, I agreed that peptides can degrade each other when in solution. One of the issues is that most peptides that we use are water soluble, and water is what reconstitutes the peptide. So the danger, in my opinion, would be the fact that you're solubilizing different compounds together. I also summarized that would it be inherently dangerous? Like, are you going to hurt yourself and make a Frankenstein peptide that's going to mess you up? It's not very likely. I said the probability is very low. The more realistic risk is that will degrade or blunt the effects of the various peptides as opposed to using them singly. And this kind of danger exists for peptides even when they're on their own, if they're stored improperly or the water pH is off, that sort of thing. So just a general guideline, you want to kind of look into it and see if the individual peptides are going to have issues with each other as far as the amino acid sequence, pH, needs, and that sort of thing. If one's too basic, one's too, acidic, are they going to interact in a way where there's components of this one that's going to degrade components of that one? I think that's the main issue. In the comments, David spoke up and made a good suggestion to look into two popular products that are on the market now, GLOW and KLOW. So we're just going to take a quick look at GLOW and KLOW or GLOW and KLOW and see how they interact with each other in solution. Yep, the peptides in GLOW are EPC 157, TB 500, and GHK copper. So all great peptides. All right, so my question was, is it possible that the individual peptides in this blend, particularly, may interact within solution in a way that degrades or alters the peptides? And this is kind of a crap answer, but yes, it is possible for different peptides to interact within a mixed solution, potentially degrade or alter each other. But it depends on specific conditions. pH incompatibility, BPC 157 and TB 500 have different optimal pH levels for stability. When combined in a single vial, the resulting acidity or alkalinity can decrease their individual effectiveness or even cancel out their therapeutic properties. Now, this is the big red flag that I saw off the bat. Here's the thing. Your water that you reconstitute with, ideally, if it's commercial BAC water, is going to be within a specific pH. What is it, like 5 or 6, something like that? And that's pretty neutral pH. So that in itself may not degrade, but if it's a little on the low side or a little on the high side, you might be affecting one peptide or the other. Copper interaction. GHK copper is a copper binding peptide. The presence of copper ions could potentially interact with the other peptide structures, although the blend is formulated to be stable when lyophilized. And of course it's going to be stable when lyophilized and dry. I mean, that's not the question. That's silly. What we're talking about is when we get them wet, when we reconstitute and have it blended in a bottle, what's going to happen? Because, like I say, water is a solvent in water-soluble cases. Yeah, and their general recommendation is just keep it refrigerated after you reconstitute it. Cool, dark space, refrigerator temperatures, and then you're looking at a few weeks as far as how long it'll last in water. And this is why I often reconstitute my peptides, if I'm using any, in something a little thicker, like a hydrogel or an oil in the case of oxytocin or an IGF-1. But that's not always necessary. It's not always ideal. Not every peptide is supposed to be very long-acting or in that kind of solution. So, in general, I think what you're looking at with GLOW is you're probably going to have it usable for a couple of weeks after reconstitution, and probably usable after that, but it'll degrade slowly over time like most peptides. I don't think you're going to put water in and it's just going to automatically, they're going to go to battle with each other and it's going to be useless. But here are the potential concerns, So sometimes on paper, things look worse than what they are in real life when you use them. Again, I don't think you're going to get a Frankenstein's monster of a peptide and it's going to, turn you into the Swamp Thing or something. I think mostly what's going to happen is some degradation over time. I like to refer back to the case of oxytocin. Oxytocin is used to heal birth canal lesions and things like that after birth, and it is used in sub-Saharan Africa as an intervention post-birth to help mothers heal after pregnancy. And there was tests done in sub-Saharan temperatures to find out how long oxytocin would last at full potency under sub-Saharan heat once reconstituted. So they reconstituted oxytocin, kept it for a month in sub-Saharan heat, and I believe it lost 18% potency in sub-Saharan temperatures, reconstituted over a course of a month. Now, I know that's not going to apply to every single peptide, but oxytocin is a pretty small peptide, and I think it's, on the fragile side, as most are. And that gives you an idea of what you're looking at. It's not black or white. You're still going to be able to use it. It's just not going to be as potent under those conditions. I store my oxytocin in the refrigerator. Some people that I know just store it in their bathroom cabinet, and it works fine for months. But in my case, we're using castor oil and other, emulsifiers and things to keep things stable that are actually a lot better than water. Now let's take a look at KLOW or KLOW. I don't know how to say it. 4 peptides, the GHK copper, KPV, TB500, and BPC157. So the only difference really in this case, I believe, is the introduction of KPV. And there we go with pH levels. A major concern is the difference in optimal pH. If peptides with widely varying pH requirements are mixed, it can cause one or both to lose efficacy. In other words, too high of acidity or too low, it's going to mess up one of the peptides if the pH is designed to meet the needs of these 3, and then this one's left out because it needs a much different pH. This may be the odd man out. In this case, they're saying that they're generally formulated to be stable with compatible pH range when reconstituted. So a little different than the other AI overview was saying. So this needs a little bit of further digging. pH incompatibility. Let's take a quick look. What's the ideal pH? Seven. Yeah. Not a problem. So, yeah, between 5 and 7. So if we've got a neutral pH BAC water at 5 or 6, we're fine. So I don't see a huge problem here. I think we're looking at typical peptide degradation over time, and my only suggestion would be, consider using a slow release or thicker viscous formula if you're concerned about just the time frame. Generally keep it in the fridge, reconstitute it the way that you like to. I have my own preferences, and that's about the size of it. I don't think it's something to worry about. These seem to be fairly compatible. I would look into it, though, just a little bit. Just check ChatGPT and see what the combination says, because they'll do a search on, the actual chemical structures of the individual peptides for you. So, and this brings up a point. I'm no expert on every single peptide, every single formula. I'm a guy that likes to take one and chew on it for several days and think about it and explore it. So a lot of these type of things, I have to just look up and see and kind of digest it and think about it. Hope this sheds a little light on the topic. Again, just my opinion, just my take, and I always could be wrong. So feel free to correct me in the comments. Just please do it in a respectful way, or, you probably get booted. So have a good one, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.